Yo, what's up, guys? We're back here today for the John Jones versus Stipe Miocic Grandpa versus Grandpa card. Listen, this is not like the greatest card, but the prelims are actually decent. But the main card's it's not that good. But we're here still regardless, and I'm gonna be giving my full predictions for UFC 309. All right, now the first fight to start off, we have Valorinka Hardy versus Edirunda Moreno. I'm gonna go with Hardy. She's on a win currently. I don't know much about these two, so I'm gonna go with the lady who's winning currently. Now we have Basil Hafez versus Oben Elliott. This is actually a good fight. I like Oben. He's a prospect who I feel like people are gonna have to keep a lookout on. I mean, he's not like the craziest fighter, but we have to remember this guy's very young into his career. I think like 26 or 24 years old. Two wins currently in the UFC. Not the craziest style, but again, he's still young in his career. That can change. So we'll see how he fights. He's fighting a guy who is a tough matchup for him, because Hafez he's 1-1 currently in the UFC, but that one loss he had was against JDM, and we all know how good JDM is, and he took him to a decision. It was a very close fight, and he beat, what was it, Tim Welter. I can't. It was that one guy who beat CM Punk. But I don't think that Hafez is gonna win this fight. I just think it's that one decent performance, and he's not gonna perform after that. I think this is one of those fighters. And I just think Elliott's better, to be honest. I don't know. I'm going with Elliott, probably by decision. I would be surprised by a knockout. I would be very surprised, but I think a decision's a fair pick for this one. We have Mickey Gall, who actually lost to the guy below him, so that's who I was trying to look for, versus Ramzi Badhamanji. Listen, both of these guys are just not good. Like, they are just not good fighters. You just look at their records, man, and it's just like, how is Mickey Gall even in the UFC? He's almost if he loses this fight, he'll be 7-7. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy, like that's just, I can't fathom that. But with that being said, I'm gonna go with Mickey Gall, because Mickey Gall, he's kind of, I think he's just slightly like less worse compared to Badhamanji. The simple factor is Mickey Gall, he's losing to like better competition than Badhamanji. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, neither of these guys are ever going to be champion level fighters, but at least Mickey Gall has fought more higher competition. So I'm going to go with Mickey Gall, probably by decision. That's what I'm going with for this one. And now, we actually have a pretty decent fight for the early prelims, which is kind of crazy. A ranked fighter, Marcin Tybura, versus Jonathan Diaz, I believe that's how you say it. I think Diaz? Whatever. We'll just call him Janati. I'm going to go with Janati, actually. I've seen his fights. He's actually really good, and he's in better shape than Marcin Tybura, who's in the top 10 rankings, which is kind of crazy, but I actually think he's gonna win this fight, probably by, I'm gonna actually say late TKO. That's what I'm going with. His boxing is pretty solid. I don't know much about his grappling. I don't think it's necessarily the best. And Marcin Tybura, he's got decent wrestling, but he got submitted in his last fight by Sergey Spivak. Sergey Spivak's a decent grappler, but, I mean, still. Like, you're getting submitted in, like, the first round, I think it was. That's not a good sign. So I think Jonathan will survive the grappling, if there even is any, and he'll TKO him. That's what I really do think. So I'll probably say late TKO, probably at the end of the second or the start of the first or third. That's my official predictions. David Omama. Is that actually his name? I probably said that horrendously. David versus Robert Hero Romero. Look, I have absolutely no clue about these two. I'll probably go with David just because he's fighting the UFC. I literally have no clue about his opponent. I'm sorry. I haven't done most of these prelims. Like, I've done some research for some of them, but like this one I kind of just glossed over for some reason. I don't know why. It's just I have no clue. Some of these fighters I've never seen before. I'm like, who are these people? Like, so I'll go with David. Next up, we have Jim Miller versus Damian Jackson. This is a good veterans fight right here, I feel. But I'm gonna go with Jim Miller. I just think Jim Miller's better. He's the more experienced fighter. Like, yes, he lost to Bobby Green, but when you were looking at Jim Miller prior to that, he's almost 40 years old, and he's beating people like 10 years younger than him, which is kind of crazy. Like, I feel like Jim Miller has definitely... his old age hasn't really affected him as badly as I thought it was going to be. I mean, he almost was ranked. If he had beaten Bobby Green, he would have been in the top 15 again at almost 40 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. But but he didn't, unfortunately. But I don't think Damian Jackson's that good. I mean, I remember he beat Anthony, Alexander Hernandez, I believe. But Hernandez isn't that great. Let's be real. So, I'm going with Jim Miller. I mean, he's just even though he lost, I'm still very impressed by Jim Miller. I mean, he didn't get knocked out against Bobby Green after taking so much damage from him. Like, his face was so busted up in that fight, and it's just insane that even at 4 years old, he didn't get knocked out. Like, so I'm going with Jim Miller, probably by decision again with this one. I mean, I could see a TKO because Jim Miller, he does have power. Like, he's got that old man power. So I don't know. I could see a TKO from here because Damian Jackson, he's not. I don't think he's the chinniest of fighters, but he did get knocked out recently. I think it was against Dan Ige, which is not a good sign. And even though I was in featherweight, and he's now at lightweight, I still think like the effects of getting knocked out could still play a factor in this. So I'll go with Jim Miller. You know what? I'll go by knockout with Jim Miller. That's what I think. I'll go by Jim Miller knocking out Damian Jackson probably in the second or first round. That's what I'm going with. Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Listen. Chris Weidman, he's not good, but he does seem to getting back on track of how he's been performing recently. I poked Bruno Silva so much, and it was ridiculous how he didn't get punished in that fight. But he still looked good regardless. Like, even without those eye pokes, he still would have won, I think. So I'll go with Chris Weidman. Probably by decision again. I mean, maybe I'll be proved wrong. Like, this one's kind of like, if Anders were to win, I wouldn't be that surprised. But I feel like Chris Weidman's kind of getting back on the momentum with how he's performing. I don't know. I kind of just have this strange feeling with Chris Weidman. So I'll go with him by decision. I think that's a good pick. Next, we have a really good fight. Jonathan Martinez versus Marquez McGinney. I'm going with Jonathan Martinez. Like, I've seen people pick McGinney, and I don't disagree with that pick. Like, this is a very close fight. But, like, we have to, like, Jonathan Martinez, he lost to Jose Aldo. And yes, Jose Aldo is old, but still, it's Jose Aldo. I mean, the dude, he's still really good. Like, he could probably beat up most of the top 10 outside maybe, like, the top 5. And even if he was to lose to the top 5, he wouldn't look terrible. Like Jose Aldo, even though he's in his old age, he's still really good. So I think that loss, and I especially think in that loss, he's definitely learned a lot from that. I think we're going to see a very improved Jonathan Martinez. I think the striking will be better, and he'll use some of his leg kicks for this fight. And I don't know. I just feel like Jonathan Martinez is going to do pretty good in this fight. I feel like it will be a very close and competitive fight. It's going to be a war. But I think Martinez will just just barely make it through against Magiev. Probably by split decision. So I'll go with Martinez by split decision. Now we're on to the main card. We have Maroko Rufi, I believe that's how you say it, versus James Lontop. This is a very easy one for Rufi. I'm going to go by... You know what? I'm going with knockout because up until like last night, if the UFC had kept the new gloves, I would probably said Rufi by decision. But now that they brought back the old gloves, I'm kind of tempted to say Rufi will knock him out. Like I don't know. I think Rufi now with the new gloves brought back, or the old gloves, sorry. He has a much higher chance to knock him out, and I think he does have knockout power. I'm gonna say it. Like I feel like he's gonna have big knockout potential with the old gloves returning. So that's what it's gonna be. Rufi by knockout. Now we have
Viviane Araújo
versus Karine Silva. I'll go with Karine Silva. Again, don't know much about both of these fighters. I swear I've seen Karine Silva fight on the Apex before, but I can't remember for the life of me when she fought. But I'll probably go with her. Probably by decision again. Again, female fights are, I'd say, the easiest to pick because, like, you don't have to worry about them submitting or knocking people out because most of the time, at least when I watch them, it's always by decision. So I'll go with Karine Silva by decision. Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Alright, listen. I would love to pick Paul Craig because it would be so funny because he has some of the most, like, crazy, like, out of nowhere wins ever in the UFC. I mean, he's the only guy to beat Ankalaev, and he submitted Jamal Hill. And he also has a win against Nikita Krylov. He has 3 wins against, like 3 top 10 light heavyweight contenders. And one of them is about to be fighting for the belt. And one of them was a former champion. So it's kind of crazy. Like this dude's resume versus how good he actually is. But I just can't. Like, Bo Nickel, he'll probably... I don't think Bo Nickel will try to wrestle with him because I feel like Bo Nickel is smart enough to know that, like, he probably could, but he probably doesn't want to risk it with Paul Craig because he can just pull out a submission out of nowhere. So I'll probably go with Bo Nickel by knockout. I think that's the consensus by a lot of the people in the community. So I'll probably go with Bo Nickel by knockout. Now, we have Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. USA! See you at the top! But, listen, I made a video early this week, I believe, or last week, saying that Michael Chandler is going to knock out Oliveira, and I still stand by that right now. I believe Michael Chandler is going to win against Charles Oliveira. Do I want that? No. Listen, I want Charles Oliveira to win like any other normal human being, but I just have this strange feeling that Michael Chandler, out of nowhere, he's gonna beat like Oliveira. Like everyone's gonna lose their minds. A lot of people are gonna be very sad. They're gonna hate Michael Chandler, and I just have this. I really have this strange feeling Michael Chandler is just gonna win by knockout. That again, let me have this being said. I want Charles Oliveira to win. Charles Oliveira is probably like one of my favorite fighters, but I just feel like Michael Chandler is going to win. I just feel like especially with the old gloves returning, like he's probably gonna have a better chance at knocking Charles Oliveira out now with the old gloves returning. And I don't know, man. This fight, this is the real main event of this card. Like, let's be real, guys. This is the real main event. Like no one cares about Grandpa John Jones and Grandpa Stipe. No offense to you, Stipe, you're a legend. But like, listen, this is the real main event. I think this is a 5-rounder. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure this is. But regardless, this is not going past like the second round max. There's no way this is going past the second round. If this is, I'd be very surprised. I would put $100 that this is not going past the second round. But yeah, I feel like Michael Chandler is going to knock out Charles Oliveira in the first round. I have a strange feeling that's what's gonna happen. Now we have the old men fighting for the heavyweight title, while the real champion, Tom Aspinall, is watching this in the booths, in the arena. Listen, I got nothing wrong with Stipe. You know, fair play to him. Like, he's taking this fight probably for the payday, maybe for the belt, in all honesty. Like, I feel like there is part of him who does want to beat John Jones, but I don't think that's what he's coming back for. Same with John Jones. This is just an easy win for him. With that being said, though, I do think Stipe Miocic isn't going to get finished. I actually think he'll make it to a decision. Maybe like a 49-46, 48-47 for John Jones, but I don't see any world where Stipe can win this. I would love to. I would love Stipe to knock out John Jones. I think if we had to think Stipe's best routes to winning this, it would probably be by the boxing, because he does have better striking than John Jones. Like, we all know this by watching the Dominic Reyes fight or like his last couple of fights, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. But even then, I just have a weird feeling John's gonna somehow do well on the feet. Probably because he's taking steroids. But I don't know. I'll go with John Jones by decision. Like it's not like how I don't know, but I would love Stipe to win, man. I would love him to knock out this steroid like using a wife abusing person. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. If John Jones actually does fight Tom Aspinall, like, that'll be nice, but he'll probably just retire right there and then. But that is it for me, guys. That is my official predictions for UFC 309 for the full card. Leave a like if you enjoyed this 100%. Like, the best prediction MMA YouTuber in the world. Like and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Peace!